Just want to continue here. Last time we stopped here on the concept in studying nature. Scientists make observation and form and test hypothesis. So we were just about to start with the observation and how the scientists are able to do the scientific research and how do they go about it. So the word science, like we said last time, is derived from the Latin and it means to know. So it's an inquiry, which is the research for information or quest for information of natural phenomena, where scientists use a process of inquiry that include making observation and forming logical hypotheses and testing them. We did allude what a hypothesis is, and we were telling and we were saying that it's not just a guessed answer, it's not just something that we just say, but it's something that has to be tested. And we're still gonna go about making some practical examples and examples that can come or examples that you might expect on your exam. So exploration and observation. Biologists describe natural structures and processes where this approach is based on observation and analysis of the data. Recorded observation are called data. So when you go and inquire something, and when you go and you observe something and you record it, those observations are called a data. So it might be in everything. There's a different types of data. There's qualitative data, which often take form from the recorded description. There's also quantitative data, which are expressed as numerical measurement or group into tables and graphs. So it's not only data that has to be quantifiable, but it's data that has to every form of data that you can collect. So like this lady here, I'm assuming that she's we might say she's observing the behavior of these individuals here, and then when she's making the observation, she can make that observation and have a pattern. Maybe she's saying she's observing in two different seasons or in weeks or in months or whatever, in the morning, in the afternoon, or even in the evening. And then she could record the data that she collects, how the pattern, the things that she saw and all that, and she reports that as a data. Then for the data, you can have your text in your notebook, where you can observe whatever observation that you have observed or whatever information that you have observed about everything. You can do research about a lot of things. Uh, Anything that you can observe, you just want to observe it. I want to observe how much. I'm just making an example. How many students actually do exercise. You may go to a university gym, or you may go to a university sports ground, whatever sports ground may be. It might be a sports ground for tennis, soccer, netball, rugby, or whatever. And then you observe. You observe. I'm checking that. Oh, in the morning, there are hardly anybody who is there, or there are people, but most of them they're just running. It's hopefully the short exercises where people are just running, and then you observe it around mid 9 a.m., 10 a.m., up to 11 to 12, and even in the afternoon, about lunchtime, there hardly is anybody in the sports ground. And if they are, you can check you observe during the season of sports season, or during the recess, or during the tournament time. That's when there are people, but during this kind of time, there hardly are people. And you can even check even in the evening. You see, okay, maybe in the evening compared to the three slots, that's where there are a lot of people who are in the sports ground, either they're practicing or they're jogging or whatever that they're doing. So that's part of observation, and then you record that information which you have observed. Then there is what we call inductive reasoning. Inductive reasoning draws conclusion through logical processes of induction. So this is also an NB. This is very important. it resurfaces a lot in your question papers. So, and it will resurface a lot when we even gonna be doing quizzes and when we're going to be doing some exercises. So repeating of specific observation can lead to an important generalization. For example, the sun rises in the east, or all organisms are made of cells. So these are part of specific repeating observation that can lead to important generalization that you can generalize which are there. So it's also part of inductive reasoning. So I keep saying this, that in order for yourself to study very well and in order for yourself to make your job much easier when you're preparing for such topics, when you're going to be studying about inductive reasoning, you're not going to be leaving deductive reasoning aside. So even if the question comes, you are tackling with the question which is asking about inductive reasoning, for you to have a proper clarity and surety that the answer that you're providing is absolutely correct, you also have to have the clarity and be able to recite and be able to outline what deductive reasoning is. It may not be for you to give out as an answer, but it will work best for you to write the correct answer. And by the way, remember, I keep saying this, sometimes even in multiple choice questions, the best way or the best trick to get the correct answer is not always knowing the best what is the actual answer, but sometimes it's actually knowing which one is not the right answer. That's another way that you can do. And how would you know that this one is the wrong answer? Is actually knowing and be thoroughly prepared, because if you want to know what is a hypothesis, you will know hypothesis is such and such. If they're asking about inductive reasoning and in the multiple choice question they give an answer of hypothesis and they give answer of testing, they give answer of abstract, they give answer of materials and method, they give answer of SOP, they give answers of whatever, then you, because you know all those other elements which are part of what you're doing, you will be able to know that this is not the correct answer. So by actually knowing which one is not the correct answer, you are helping yourself to arrive at a correct answer thoroughly. So then, forming and testing hypothesis. In science, hypothesis is an explanation based on observation and assumption that leads to a testable prediction. So you don't just form a hypothesis from the sky. You don't just come and say, okay, let me make this. People will think that I'm making fun or I'm making a joke. You don't just come. There's now what we call sports scientists. I was looking at a gentleman will be able to attest to me this thoroughly. Right now, in the whole of Europe and across the globe, there is what we call transfer a window where big teams they sign players from one team to the other. Your Manchester United, your Manchester City, your Liverpool, your Kaiser Chiefs, your what. They sign player from one team to the other, and there's an exchange of lump sum of millions and millions of euros and dollars and British pounds. So I was watching on the television news and they were analyzing a certain player who's supposed to go to a certain team, and they were giving a statistics of that kind of player's work rate. And they were asking the reporter and say, how do they know about this? And they were like, there's a sports scientist who research about this, who actually view and observe this player. How many passes did this player make? How many times was he offside? How many times was he injured? How much did he sprint? How much distance did he cover? That is research. And so for also some analysis, when for you to get a job in some television, you can't just come and say, Kaiser Chiefs is not gonna win anything this year because they're not playing good, because I don't like them to win anything. You actually have to give an information and be like, based on the previous season, based on the statistical values that they sign the certain players is we predict that this and this is going to happen. Obviously, that's a sports metaphor or that's a sports example, but also you can do that even on the on if the government, not even the government, if there's somebody who has money, they just want to clear an area, they just want to clear an area in Musina, in Limpopo, in Pumalanga, elsewhere. They just want to clear that area, and then you scientists, the people in the environmental affairs, they will say how will this affect the indigenous species which are there. So you can't just go and say if people clear this area, all the trees which are there are going to be gone forever. Or you can't just say, oh, it's going to be fine. And the other trees, they will grow elsewhere. They will grow in other provinces and all that. No, you just have to have an observation that has to be tested. That leads to a testable prediction. And it must lead to prediction that can be tested, making additional observation or performing experiment. What is an experiment? An experiment is a scientific test carried out under controlled conditions. For example, observation. You have this observation. Your desk lamp doesn't work properly. That's an observation. Or your bulb in your sitting room or in your bedroom is not working properly. The question, why doesn't your lamp work? Hypothesis one. The hypothesis one is that the bulb is not screwed properly. That's the hypothesis one. Hypothesis number two, the bulb is bent out. Both of these are testable. Testable. How are they testable?
For hypothesis one, you check if the bulb is screwed in properly. And for hypothesis two, you can check by switching on and off to see if the bulb is still lighting or not.
Yes. Thank you. So you can test this. So you can practically test it. So we're also going to go to some examples where we even going to give statements. You should be able to differentiate if this statement is testable or not. So like saying, let's say for example, I could say, please do not walk in the evening into a certain street. Just make us. I don't want to make a street because I might get into trouble. Into a certain street in the evening, and people are like, "Why shouldn't we walk?" And I said, "There's a ghost. There is a ghost. Do not walk. If you walk in the street at that particular time of night, that day there's gonna be a ghost." Is that a hypothesis? Is that testable?
No.
No, it's not. It's superstition. It's something. So we don't want to get into we don't have to delve into people's belief and what you believe in. It has to be factual. It has to be testable. So observation, she was right. Desk lamp doesn't work. And the question, why doesn't the desk lamp? Hypothesis number one, the bulb is improperly screwed in. So the bulb number, hypothesis number two, the bulb is bent out. Prediction, we predict that we will fix the bulb will reinstalling or properly screwing in the bulb will fix the problem. Prediction, replacing the bulb with a new one will fix the problem. Test of the prediction, we reinstall the bulb. Test of the prediction, we replace the bulb. And the results, the desktop lamp doesn't work even after even after when we have properly screw in the bulb. And the result for this one, because it was bent out, we replaced the bulb. The lamp is now working. So the hypothesis supported. So the important statement here is that you need to be careful on your reporting and on the language, or what the 2000 says, the lingo. The hypotheses are not either wrong or wrong. It's not, you cannot say it's wrong or it's right. It's either supported or not supported by the facts, by the results of the experiment, or by the results of what you have predicted when you did the work. The other one is deductive reasoning. Inductive reasoning, deductive reasoning. The deductive reasoning uses general premises to make specific predictions. Initial observation may give rise to multiple hypotheses. Back then in the inductive, we were giving general observation. We can never prove that a hypothesis is true, but testing it in many ways with different sorts of data can significantly increase our confidence in it. Excuse me. For example, not example, question that can and cannot be addressed by science. I've mentioned this before. A hypothesis must be testable. For example, a hypothesis that ghost fooled with the test lamp cannot be tested. So if there was a hypothesis number 3 and somebody was like, ooh, there was a ghost. The ghost is the one that messed up with the lamp. We can't test that. It can't be a hypothesis. So superstitial and religious explanation are outside the bounds of science. So we can't do that. So that's why we don't delve into beliefs and whatever that you believe, because it cannot be tested. It cannot be factual. So flexibility of science processes. The scientific method is idealized process of inquiry. However, very few scientific inquiries adhere rigidly to this approach. Backtracking and rethinking may be necessary partway through the process. So this is the process where you explore and you discover, forming and testing hypotheses. There have to be a sort of engagement where you have to engage. In most time nowadays, when you wanna secure a funding, or when you wanna convince the government to give you money for anything, you have to have a proper support to your proposal of whatever that you're gonna be working on, that you're gonna engage the community, or whatever that you're working on is gonna engage the community. And how will the outcomes of whatever that you're working on, whatever your project you're working on, will have the benefits to the society. Then forming and testing hypotheses, testing ideas, forming hypotheses, predicting results, doing experiments, making observation, gathering data, analyzing results, support hypothesis, contradict the hypothesis, inspire to revise a new hypothesis. Then there's also exploration and discovery, where you observation, ask question, or reading scientific literature. And also the benefits, developing technology, informing policy. There are policies that you need to, that can be informed by the project that you're doing, solving problem and building knowledge. So the society is waiting for you guys to come out with the knowledge that you can build with the knowledge. So whatever the scientific way that you're doing on your science, at the end of it all, what we are doing here, at the end of it all, whether you are Zulu, Xhosa, Tswana, Venda, Tsonga, or whatever, when you are sitting down with your peers, you should be able to tone it down to a point where people will be gaining the knowledge, to a point where you will be solving the problem, to a point where even if you go above level and they just invite you to whatever policy level of making, you are able to inform and put some inputs which can shape the informing of the policy in some way or the other. And we've talked about the community analysis and feedback and peer review replications or findings, publication, and consensus building. So there's going to be a point where you can peer review. Just means that you submit your work and your work is corrected. Most like the same way you're going to be reviewed for your assignment or for your test, where you're going to write it and submit it in that way. And this is just a picture, this is just a picture that we have saw. So we're gonna go back to the case study of what we talked about earlier last week, where the case study of a scientific inquiry investigating the cold coloration in mouse population. The color patterns of animals vary widely in nature, sometimes even between the members of the same species. So you can be from the same species, but vary differently. And the diversity, the stronger population or the stronger population of a certain species is defined by having more diversity. So two population of mice belonging to the same population. So these little fellas here, they belong to the same population. That they are the same species. They belong to the same species rather. Belong to the same species. They are both Peromoscus polynotus, but the color patterns are found in different environments. The beach mouse live in white sand dunes with sparse vegetation. The vegetation is very sparse, and the inland mouse live in darker soil. So the difference here is that the beach mouse lives in white sand, and the darker mouse live in the inland darker soil. So this will be the other population of the beach population, and this will be the inland population. You can see that this one is, and so I know ladies are gonna say it's not really white. They will give us a certain color, but we can see here for the benefit of the clarity of what we're talking about. Let's just say it's white and clear, and this one, I know I'm color blind, but this one is brown or dark brown, where this little fella is here. And you can see that these two colors resemble each other and these two colors resemble each other. And for this help with them, for them to survive predation, this help them in order for themselves to be able to survive. So this is the clarity of the environment. And again, here is the clarity of the environment in the picture representation. And again, this one is also the picture representation of the white mouse and the inland one. So the explanation of this is that the two types of mice match the coloration of their habitats. Natural predators of these mice are all visual hunters. By the visual hunters, they just mean that they hunt what they see, obviously, or they depend in their vision to see. So in order for them to survive, they must be at least less visible than ordinary individual in the environment. So Francis Bertoni Sama, he hypothesized that the color pattern had evolved as adaptations to protect the mice from the predators. All right, this is his hypothesis. Now, check, he's not just making an hypothesis from the sky, but he's hypothesizing about that. So in 2010, Hopi, Oeskra, and a group of students tested this hypothesis. So he is the one who made a hypothesis. So your hypothesis can be tested, but should be and must be able to be tested by another group of people. So you should be, for your hypothesis to qualify to be a hypothesis, you should have a pipeline or a methodology which people who are completely different or people who are not your friends, people who professionally so they're just focusing on the study or they have a level of interest in the study, they can do exactly what you have hypothesized and be able to arrive at a certain conclusion or at a certain set of results. So these researchers, who are these researchers, is those ones in 2010, Hopi and the group of students. The researchers predicted that the mice did not match. The mice that did not match their habitat will be preyed on more heavily than the mice that did not that did match the surroundings. Okay, they then built models of mice, painted them to match the ones of the surrounding, and placed them equally to the numbers of each type of model in each habitat or in the same environment. Therefore, they then recorded the signs of predation. And this is the results that they find. You can see here that this is the percentage of attacked models. So from 0 to 100, and on your x-axis is the parameters of the light models. And then here you can see the graphic representation This one will be the conflict, is the control, the light model, and this one is the non-conflict, the experimental. So in each habitat, there were two types of models. There were the dark models and the light models in both beach and the inland. Remember the beach, this is the beach, this is the beach, and this is the inland. So in both areas, they put both the light mouse and the inland mouse. Forgive me, there's a call which is getting in. Ignore. Why am I ignoring the call? Because you guys are very important. Yes. And then there's the light models. You can see here in the beach. Okay, anybody want to explain what's happening here? So here you see this is the white environment. So this is the percentage of the number of mice that were
No.
eaten. Bull.
Oh, okay. So, what I saw there is that on the graph, which has a title which is green, and also the other one which is orange. The green one represents the mouse that is found on the beach,
Mm-hmm.
which is represented by the white bar and the brown bar. So what I
Mm-hmm.
observe is that the beach mouse survived quite better in its habitat on the beach, and the brown mouse was more attacked on the beach,
Yes.
on the graph, which is green. So on the
Yes.
brown graph, it represents the habitat of the inland mouse, and the other graph, which is white and the brown, they represent both the white and the brown mouse. So according what I observe is that the lighter mouse was more attacked on the habitat of the brown mouse, which was inland, and the brown mouse was not attacked, meaning
All
that
right.
the codes really represent that they had something to protect or camouflage the mouse in their own habitat.
Yeah, but is absolutely correct. So the light the dark mouse will be more attacked or they are more visible in the beach habitat, and dark the brown mouse, they are less visible when they're in the inland habitat, and the white mouse will be more attacked when they're in the light models. All right. Thank you for that. And there's the picture of this little fella. You can see this one is more visible even in the afternoon, and this one is less visible. You can see this one is more visible in the beach environment, and this one is less visible. You can easily miss it in that regard. So the experimental control variables and the experiment group of the non-com. This is the explanation of what we were actually talking about. The experimental variable features quantities that vary in experiments. The independent variable is the one that is manipulated by the researchers, while the dependent variable is the one that is predicted to be affected. Then there is what we talk about theories in science. In the context of science, a theory is a broader scope than a hypothesis in general and can lead to a new testable hypothesis, which is supported by the larger body evidence in comparison to a hypothesis. I'm going to be moving very fast now. The science benefit corporate approach and diverse viewpoints. More scientists work in teams, which often include graduate and undergraduate students. Good communication is important in order to share results through seminars and publications and so forth. And okay, I'll say this after this. You building on the work of other scientists, check on each other's claims by performing similar experiments. If experimental results are not repeatable, then the original claim will have to be revised. So most of the time, if you make a hypothesis in your study, there's a nice term that they will say. It's not going to say it's they're not gonna use a harsh words like you're just gonna be telling you to say go and revise it, because we have done what you predicted, that if we what you have stipulated that if we do, and you hypothesis that if we proceed with this, these are the results that we should expect to find, but we are not finding the same result which are which you have predicted that we might find, and what we are finding is quite far off from what you have predicted. Maybe it's better if you revise what you have predicted, what you have hypothesized. So it's not unusual for a different scientist to work on the same research. So you're gonna be working on something, it's not unusual. As a matter of fact, when you work on something, you have to publish it. The competition which might be there is maybe who will publish it first, because that's always the competition in today's world. Who saw it first is the question. Is everything. If they just if something happens, everybody will be tweeting. Everybody will be tweeting. Why? Because everybody want to be the first, isn't it? Everybody want to be the first. I'm the first to report about this. It's no longer about facts or anything like that. It's about I'm the one who saw it first. I'm the one who posted about it first and anything like that. But scientists cooperate by sharing data and model and organism. For example of the fruit fly, Drosophila melanogaster. So what they mean here is just as a scientist, you actually need to be able to collaborate and be able to have to work with others. Thus, you will not avoid. You should be able to have a capability of working with others and be able to. There's a term that they use. The right terminology is collaborating. You should be able to collaborate and share what you have done, share your work, share your results with others. That you will never avoid. Again, science, technology, and society. The goal of science is to understand natural phenomena. The goal of technology is to apply the knowledge for specific purpose. Biology is marked by discoveries, while technology is marked by invention. So in biology, you're gonna be discovering, and the technology will assist you guys as biologists to equip and to advance those discoveries that have been in that has been that has been discovered with an inventions. That's where the combination of science and technology has dramatic effect in society, where the DNA comes by. The debates on technology center more on should we do it than can we do it. That's the beauty of it. That's where the technology is just like it's no longer, the question is no longer can we do this? Can I calculate this kind of rates? Can I be able to calculate it? The issue is, can we do it? Should we do it? Is it significant? Why? Why? For what? For the why. It's no longer is it doable, because it is doable. You can be able to do anything. Then there's a point of ethics. In every sector, you need to have ethics, and issues can arise from the new technology, but have so much to do with politics, economics, and all the cultural values. So you need to have like ethics and all those kind of things. Like, did anybody hear about the Uber and Bolt? They're unethical. So there was a story. This is actually allegedly, I'm saying this allegedly, that some of these technological advance, they are able to check and spy on your phones, because everything is doable, and see, okay, how much percentage do you have on your battery. When they see that your phone is very low on battery, and when you request, they can be able to see that, oh, these kind of individuals, their phone battery is very low, so they can hide the prices of the fares, because they know that, oh, this person probably might be desperate. They're not at home, or they want to get it home as soon as they can because their battery is low, because they know that if they don't request an Uber at that particular time, they won't be able to get to there. So this is part of what some other organizations, they are taking them to the court. Is there menu sometimes to say you are not allowed to do that. That's not ethical. You are spying on people. So you cannot be able to do that. You should not be doing that. So even in science, you need to have ethics. So you know that you will be able to manipulate data to say things that are not there as they are, or to make wrong inform or ratings, or wrong or misinformed data to suit a certain narrative or to suit a specific agenda that you want to do. So I think we have done and we have covered this. This is basically about what we were doing in that regard. And yeah, the energy flow, we've done that. Chemical cycling, we did that. This one we have done that about the Galapagos and the population, and that we've done that. Yeah. Any question up so far before we proceed? So welcome to the quiz. So I'm gonna start where we started last week. Some of the questions you still remember. So what is describe the following terms? Anyone?
Parasitism is a relationship between two organisms where the other one benefits from the other and the other is a host. And in this relationship, one organism is being hurt.
So the other one word. Yeah, heading the other one. Okay. And the mutualism.
Mutualism is a symbiotic relationship where both species involved benefit from each other.
All right, cool. And commentalism, last one.
It's a relationship between um, two organisms where one of the organism benefits while the other is neither harmed nor helped.
Great stuff. Thank you so much for that. We're off to a good start, guys. Then describe the following terms. What is predation? Remember, your exam might be multiple choice question, but in order for you to have the clarity and to have the clear description of what you are doing, you need to have a thorough information of the what you're working on, so that when they're giving a question about what predation is and they give multiple explanation, you'll be able to know which one is which.
Predation is the preying of an animal and killing it for food.
That's proper. So it's the interaction in which a predator eats another animal or eats a prey. And the herbivory.
Organisms that eat both plants and other organisms.
Cool. So these are organisms that they can be able to eat, which herbivore eats as a plant. Then the differences, we have done this last week, that eukaryotes have prokaryotes, they have nucleus. The prokaryotes do not have a membrane bound organelle, while the prokaryotes do not have. And we also continue that eukaryotes have cells on average 10 times the size of prokaryotic cells, and the DNA of eukaryotic is more complex and much more extensive than the one of the DNA of prokaryotes. And also eukaryotes undergo mitosis. The prokaryotes, they divide by binary fission, and the cell type is multicellular, and the one is unicellular. Just out of curiosity, which ones are the four major threats to biodiversity? Did we do this? Yes, we did.
Someone in the comments section said pollution.
All right. Thank you for that.
climate change, and an example is rising of temperatures.
Mm-hmm. So there will be also a habitat loss, so introduced of new species, overharvesting, and global climate change. So the biodiversity is threatened by habitat loss. So when you talk about habitat loss, we're going to be talking about human activities such as agriculture, urban development, forestry, mining, etc. It leads to habitat loss. So most people may look at it and like say, come on, there's a mining is coming here to create jobs, and agriculture. We are planting things that will help in food security. We are planting avocados that will help. We're planting oranges. We're planting whatever that will help in food security. But it also, if it's not practiced properly, or if they do not follow proper protocols, is a huge threat to biodiversity. And the loss of biodiversity leads to a lot of imbalance in the ecological balance of a particular environment. What's the other word that you used to say introduce species?
I think is if species
Is what?
invasive.
Perfect, good, invasive species. So just know that if they're talking about introduced species, they're talking about invasive species. So invasive species, they are mostly exotic, and that the humans move intentionally or accidentally from the species native location to new geographic area. So like most of the time, invasive species, they tend to outcompete the indigenous species. So you'll find that they have more advanced rules than the indigenous species, and you find that the indigenous species, if upon introduction of an invasive species in the particular habitat, you will find that by the next 3 years or after an extended period of time, all the introduced species or invasive species have colonized or they have dominated that particular area. And because they have dominated that particular area, you'll find that they require more water. When they require more water, it means that if there was a stream of water across the region, that stream of water no longer sustains itself compared to what it used to do when there were only invasive species, therefore leading to a habitat loss. And when it leads to a habitat loss, it means that certain species are not going to be there. So we find that if, let's say, for example, there were indigenous species, the indigenous species, you say, remember those mouse, the two type of mouse that we're talking about, if the kind of plants that it releases leaves for the brown mice is an indigenous species, results it's outcompeted by an invasive species. It therefore will lead to those brown mouse to no longer be there in that environment. And when those mouse are no longer there, there's a change of the balance in that environment, in that habitat, which is gonna be leading it to being lost. And the other one is overharvesting. If you overharvest anything, overharvesting is like overdoing anything. If you overdo something, it leads to the threat of that particular object when you overuse something. So let's take, for example, it's areas where it's rural areas. Now there's a problem that electricity is too expensive. They are closer to a bush or a vegetation which is just not protected or anything like that. They will go and cut the trees for wood to make electricity, to cook, to do that. So when it's winter, when they overharvest that, if it's overharvested, the environment will take longer to regenerate or to recoup or to reinstate itself to the original state that it was, therefore leading to this. Now because of the last one, global climate change, you will find that now the imbalance in temperature ranges is causing the rejuvenation of the species that were over-harvested to take longer than expected, which may lead to the loss of the biodiversity or habitat. So the over-harvesting of species such as seabirds, elephants, whales, and even fish will lead to a danger of extinction of those particular species. Global climate change, changes in fabric of Earth ecosystem at the regional to global scale. Global change include climate, atmospheric chemistry, and broad ecological system, which reduce the capacity of Earth to sustain life on its own. We talked about this last week. List 7 properties of life. Somebody on the chat already said alien species. Yes. 7 properties of life. Do I see something on the chat box? Yes, I do. There's order, there's growth, there's cellular observation, there's homeostasis, metabolism, there's responsiveness, there's reproduction, there's hereditary, and there is growth. You still remember all of this? You do? Yes. Have a look at that and also check them out. Okay, we are going to the last set of long questions. Defining what is ecosystem. Anyone?
An ecosystem is a community of all living organisms that and their physical environments interacting or functioning together as a unit.
All right, and basic science, thank you for that. All living things in particular area together with a biotic. So there are like terms which you need to highlight when you are studying, which you need to underline or highlight in order for yourself to be able to know that this is what they're talking about, or this is the description of what they're talking about.
Basic science is science that seeks to expand knowledge and understanding regardless of the short-term application of that knowledge.
Thank you. And what is plagiarism? This you don't even need to read it, you just need to tell us what is plagiarism. But we did say this even last week.
We have a message in the chat box and it says it's passing off the work or ideas of someone else as your own without giving them credit.
Thank you. I think you're just gonna actually assign yourself to be my assistant and look on the chat box, because I'm very slow in looking at the chat box with my other device. Does that sound like a plan?
Yes, sir, as long as you pay me.
All right. What is population?
Population is the
you see how
number of individuals.
you see how what is the question about payment there? That's how you should do in life. Yeah. Continue. Or what is population?
Population is the total number of individuals of a particular species living in a specific area.
Thank you. So it's simply all individuals from specific of species living in the specific area. An organism.
Individual living entities.
All right. Exactly, an individual living entity. And the scientific method will be a method of research which is defined steps that include observation, formulation of a hypothesis, testing, and confirming or falsifying of that particular hypothesis. So here's the other one. What is phylogenetic tree?
Phylogenetic tree is a diagram that represents the evolutionary relationship between different species or organisms.
Yes, which are based on similarities and differences genetic or physical traits, or both in the instance hypothesis concerning evolutionary connection. Please pay attention to this description because we will see when we go further, when they are asking you on the multiple choice questions, your examiner can be quite tricky, and sometimes they don't give a full description of what they're asking you, and you feel like that's not what they're talking about. So when I'm giving this description, I'm trying to give, some will be repetition. I'm trying to get the gist of how can they describe something that you may think that they're not describing it, both in a long-term question or in the short answer format. And what is community? Please don't say it's Soweto or Mamelodi community or social movement.
A community is a group of interdependent plants or animals growing or living together and in natural conditions and occupying a specified habitat.
Cool. Anybody else? I see some hands which are. You wanted to say something? Go ahead.
No, sir, I was trying to open the mic. I was going to say that the community is made up of different populations of species or organism living within a certain area.
Perfect. You're both correct, yes. And the other simple area would just to say set of population inhabiting a particular area. So community is it's all population. It's a group of population, and population is a group of species. And the biosphere. So even in biosphere, if you could just say collection of all the ecosystem on the earth, you could still be correct. Yes, something that we didn't talk about. I don't think we talked about, but what is an abstract? Have you ever heard of an abstract? Just try to think. Try by all means to just reduce this into your own understanding. What do you understand about abstract?
I'm
Have you heard?
thinking that maybe an abstract is a summary.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's it. It's a summary.
All right. Yeah. That's still a correct answer. Yes. Anybody else? So she's right. In a nutshell, it's a summary. It's a summary, but that particular summary has to it has to include your hypothesis, your materials and method, and your entire conclusion of the whole thing. So it's a summary, but it's an opening session of a scientific paper. Normally, if you're reading a scientific paper or an article, at the top, there will be a summary of an abstract session where you're going to be doing an abstract which summarizes the research and the conclusion of that particular summary. And our hypothesis, we talked about this. We talked. It's a suggestive explanation for an observation which one can test. All right. So then, let the chips fall where they may, or let the game begin. So this is figure 2. Can you guys read properly? Let me check on my other device. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. So this there was a diagram like this last week. It might not have had like this diagraphic pictures the same way as they are. So this is the definition. What are cells? What are tissues? The biosphere, what it encompasses. But the question now it says, which of the following statement is false? Tissues exist within organs which exist within organ system. That's number A. Number B, communities exist within population, which can exist within ecosystem. C, organelles within cells, which exist within tissues. Or D, communities exist within ecosystem, which exist in the biosphere. Which one is false? We did say last week that it's very important. Maybe the most, I know you guys you're gonna know all the answers because you're attending this. Obviously, yes, we know that nobody from who attend this session from the first session last week to the end will not get anything less than 90%. Yes, that's a flex. We know that. But one of the other things that may be a disadvantage, it might actually be understanding the question. I know people, I once was like that. I once fall a victim of that, of being excited. When you see a question paper and you get excited, you see a question and you get excited, and you miss the final details. And when you walk out of the exam, you find out that you miss the final details of a question. So please, and by please, I mean please, make sure that you understand the question properly. All right, stop waffling, Maroon. What is the question? What's the answer, rather?
We have 4 people in the chat box who said the answer is B, and I'm also saying the answer is B.
You're also saying the answer is B, okay? Let's see the verdict.
I think the answer is C.
Oh, you see the answer is C, but the answer is B. Unfortunately, the population exists within communities. So the same similar question. Look at this. Watch this. Watch this. It says all of the following statements are true, except I wanted to say but this is easy. Come on. But I just remember that I was just telling you to make sure to take your, okay, you don't have a lot of time, yes, in the exam, but to take your time. And yeah, I know somebody will say, but Morongwe, you were just telling us not to get excited. So give us time to think this through.
Okay, we have 5 answers now from the chat box, which says the answer is B.
The
6
answer is
now,
B.
and I'm the 7th one to say B.
You are the 7th one to say B, and all of you are correct. Yes. Okay, which of the following statements is false? Can I add more on this question? Please also explain why each. If you are saying this B is false, I'm just saying it as an example. Please say why A is true and C is true and D is true.
Okay, we have answers in the chat box saying it's B. I'm also saying it's B. It's because communities don't exist within populations, but rather populations exist within communities.
B, population exists within the community, which exists in a community ecosystem. All right. So the tissue exists within an organism is true. The statement is true. Community exists within population is false. And the other statements are both true. All right. Let's move to the next one. Based also on this organelle. You see why? Remember last week I told you that sometimes they may not necessarily ask you to draw a diagram. They may not necessarily be a requirement for you to draw, but there is a requirement for you to thoroughly understand some diagrams. It may not necessarily be this particular diagram, but when you see a structure, they can give one structure and extract more than 10 questions from those multiple choice questions from that particular structure. So this diagram, so far we have, I think it's 4. We're in the 4. This will be the 5th question that we are getting from this. So this one is, what is the smallest unit of biological structure that meets the functional requirements of living? Is it number A, organelle, B, cell, C, macromolecule, or B, or D rather, organ? My assistant,
We
you
have
want
a
to do some
few
of us?
answers. We have a few answers in the chat box. We
Mm-hmm.
have B, cell, and we have A, B, then A. That's the answer. B, then A. Then we have B, we have cells, we have B, and we have B dot A.
How many A's and B? It seems like it's A versus B right here. How many A's?
Yeah. So we have 1, 2, 3, B and A. We have 1, 2. Oh, they keep on coming. 1, 2, 3, 4 A's and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 B's.
So majority of the voters are saying it's B. Let's see. Does somebody just wanna, for those who are saying A, do you wanna motivate why you're saying it's A? And those who are saying B, anybody who wanna say, not on the comment, but on who wanna unmute yourself? Anybody who just wanna unmute yourself?
Oh, I made a mistake. So apparently, what's happening is that those who gave two answers, B then A, it's B for question 1, then A for question 2. Sorry, guys, I didn't know.
Yeah, but if they should unmute themselves to clarify if they yeah, but do we in the first question, does anyone want to explain for those who said B and those one who said A? Anyone who just want to explain?
I chose A because B itself and cell is the smallest unit of life, not the smallest unit of biological structure that meets the functional requirements of living.
And the one who chose B, what can you tell us?
I chose B because the statement says that the unit meets the functional requirements of living. So reading that statement, I saw that the requirements of living, which are the properties of life, they are made by the cell because it grows and it meets all the life processes.
Perfect. So the cell is the smaller unit that can sustain all the requirements for their life. Yeah. Okay, which of the following represent the hierarchy of biological organisms from the most complex to the least complex? We did this, I think, last week.
I think the answer is A because B is the most, biosphere is the most complex, whereas the other options, biosphere is in the middle, and organisms are more complex than organs.
Which is correct. The biosphere is the largest possible level of organism, and in the list, the organism is the smallest. And by the way, I forgot to say this, by the way, this is based on this diagram. So it's based on this diagram. So mostly your examiner will be fair in most of the time. You will not just request you to just describe things which are out of nowhere, but they will also provide like sort of like a hint diagram or a hint indication where you can be able to extrapolate or be able to jot down the answer. All right, can we proceed? All right. Some of the multiple choice questions which may come, drag the words into the correct boxes to explain how biology can be studied from a microscopic approach to global approach. So researchers, here you say researchers can approach biology from the smallest to the largest and everything in between. For instance, an ecologist may study which is number 1, of individual, its number 2, its number 3, and its number 4. So which one is number 1, 2, 3, and 4 out of the 4 options, which are A, ecosystem, B, community, or C, population, or D, biosphere. So you guys need to match then these words to the correct numbers in the paragraph. Other than you guys always answering the questions on the chat box, I must say you guys are doing really good, by the way. So far, 90% of the questions here, you're getting them. So well done, guys. Anyone who want to unmute yourself and give us the answer? Not the one on the chat box. The one on the chat box, my assistant will read them. You, what do you think? Do you think you can unmute yourself and...
Okay, so the answers in the chat box are C, B, A, D. 1, C, 2, B, 3, A, and 4D. All of them, all 4 of them. People are
And you guys
smart.
know, yes, I thank you. Do you guys know what's happening here? They are trying to say, describe what ecosystem is, what community is, what population is, by not just describing it as define this, but just identifying it within a ordinary paragraph or chapter or within that. So yeah, I do see. So most of the people are saying number one is C, which is population, and number two is what is the recurring answer, my assistant on the chat box?
Community.
Community, correct. Yes, you guys are right. And it's number three, it's,
Ecosystem.
let's see if it's correct. Yes, A, ecosystem, and the last one obviously should be biosphere. Well done, guys. Did most of them get them right in the chat box? Let me check. C, B, uh, C, B, A, and D. Yes, most of you got it correct. Well done, guys. Then, again, similar question. When studying an individual organism, a biologist could examine their cell and its the number two and the smallest units make up the and the number three and their respective organ which is number four, and the sum total of the organism itself. Let's talk, guys.
So this is my answer.
Yes.
When studying an individual organism, a biologist could examine the cell and its organelles.
Okay,
The
let's see. Just hold up there. Yes, you're correct. Yes, continue.
the tissues that the smallest units make up,
Correct.
um, organs, and their respective organ systems, and the sum total, the organism itself.
I think you missed up on the last one. Sorry. And the organs and their respective organ and their organ system. Am I the one who's wrong? Or she's correct?
Yeah, I said that. I said organs and their respective organ systems. That's what
Oh,
I
is
said.
it? Oh, sorry
Yeah.
about that. Okay. That's me getting old then. All right. Okay. Yeah, then you well done, eh? You're correct. So the organelles, the tissues, are the smallest units that make up an organs and their organ systems. Well done, guys. You guys are super dope, but you're getting this is good. Then this is the components of a prokaryotic. It's not a question. It's just you see here the components of a prokaryotic cell. A cell share form common components, which are plasma membrane and outer covering that separates the cell interior from its environment, and there's also a cytoplasm, which is consisting of a jelly-like region within the cell, and the unicellular components are found. There's also a DNA, which are the genetic materials of the cell, and the ribosomes. What do the ribosomes do, and the function, the particle that synthesize the proteins. However, the prokaryotes differ in eukaryotic cell with different ways that we have talked about. So when you get a hold of this, please be familiarize yourself with structures like this. Yes, they may not request you to draw, but it's still significant. And also there are issues of cell size. How do they differ in the naked eye and the diameter? Prokaryote cells are significantly smaller at 0.1 to 5.0 micrometer in diameter. Prokaryotic cells are significantly smaller than eukaryotic cells, which have diameters ranging from 10 to 100 micrometer. And the small size of prokaryotes allow the ions and organisms of the molecules that enter them quickly to spread to the other parts of the cell. And similarly, any waste produced within prokaryotic cell can quickly move out. However, larger prokaryotic cells have evolved different structural adaptation to enhance the cellular transport. And indeed, the large size of this cell will not be possible without this adaptation. So in general, the cell size is limited because the volume increases in much more quickly and than does the cell surface. And as a cell becomes larger, it becomes more and more difficult for the cell to acquire sufficient materials to support the processes inside the cell, because the relative size of the surface area across which material is transported declines in that particular manner. So look out for even diagrams like this in order for yourself to have any familiarity with which will help you with the question. Ignore the dates, just ignore the dates. The date is not part of the question. Please ignore the date. Because I can hear somebody say, "What's up with the date, bro? We are in August. You are still putting on April. What's happening?" So ignore the dates. So here's another question. During the biology lab, you asked to look at a prokaryotic and eukaryotic cell under microscope and document what components they both share in common. Which of the following is not a feature of the cell that is in common? Is it A, cytoplasm? So this question is asking you which feature is not common. Am I right? In both prokaryotic and eukaryotic cell. Is it A, cytoplasm, cell wall, and plasma membrane, or D, the DNA? Are you guys still there?
A cell wall.
Anyone else? Thank you for the answer. Anyone else? You wanted to say something? Sorry, I cut you off there.
We have answer C in the chat box.
The plasma membrane. So which means we have two responses. When we have two different responses, we have what we call a stalemate. So we need a third person to see validate that. Okay, let me stop speaking my Zulu before my Zulu students say, hey, no. If you want to take a lesson, take a proper lesson. Who want to give us a third answer?
Can I say why I said a cell wall?
Yeah, that would be lovely. Thank you.
Both of them have DNAs and membranes, and you just spoke about the prokaryote having cytoplasm, but a cell wall wasn't mentioned.
Yes, correct. So correct answer is B, which is the cell wall. Though some eukaryotes have cell wall, some as plants cell not all do, and muscle do not have the cell wall. Therefore, not all cell walls share these characteristics. All right, let's proceed. Stacy is a field biologist collecting water samples and has recently discovered a new unicellular organism. In the sample she collected, Stacy has classified this organism as being eukaryotic. Which of the following could not be a feature of the organism that she described? So in some instances, they may say question A, she classified the organism and give you different answers for you to choose for, and you will have to choose eukaryotic. And after that, they make a follow-up question which could say which of the following could not be the feature of the organism she discovered in the previous question. Which means that if you miss the first question, you have completely missed this particular question. I hope I'm making sense.
You are, but you're not, at least to me, because you're saying that we must look at the first part of the question. So it's a new unicellular organism, but it has been classified that it's eukaryotic. So now do we run with it being eukaryotic, or do we say it's unicellular? So
Yeah. The answer said in some instances, not in this particular one. And
okay,
in some
thank
instances,
you.
if they did not, if in some instances they would describe and say the organism that she classified and not describe it as eukaryotic. They will ask you which the organism is, and then they give you various options for you to choose upon. And then when you choose upon that is eukaryotic, therefore you be able to have the follow-up question, which is this. But it's a hypothetical statement. Okay.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you. My answer is C, and we have the answer in the chat box, which is A.
You are correct. Because eukaryotic cells do not have capsule, and capsule are made up of polysaccharides and are often increased bacteria, which are prokaryotic cells in that regard. What part do all prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells have? So in other words, what do they have in common between nuclear envelope, organelles, cell walls, and plasma membrane?
Plasma membrane.
Plasma membrane. Do we all agree with that?
Yes, and the answer in the chat box is D also.
Is D, okay. Correct. All prokaryotic and eukaryotic cells have plasma membrane. Then, how does a typical prokaryotic cell? I think you need to go and make sure that you thoroughly differentiate between prokaryotes and eukaryotic cells. That way, it will help you a lot. And as far as this question, what is the answer? How does a typical prokaryotic cell compare in size to a eukaryotic cell? I think the last slide before we resume the question, it was specifically talking about this.
I'm not sure about my answer, but I'm gonna go with A.
All right.
A looks right. And we have in the chat box D.
Now we have two completely different answers, A and D. Do we have another one who just wanna support either the two or wanna go with a completely different answer? So far we have A and D.
In the chat box, we have two answers, which are A.
Okay. Again, A. So there are three people. Two are saying A and one is saying D. Anybody else who wanna be the last one to close this one? There's
We have a
something
new answer. C.
which fortunately is what I was waiting for, because C is the correct answer. Prokaryotic cells are significantly smaller than eukaryotic cells. They are smaller in size by a factor of 100. And again, we've got that question. Drag the words with the correct into the correct boxes to complete the statements. Prokaryotic cells are surrounded by number one, membrane, and have DNA, cytoplasm, and two, like eukaryotic cells, they also have number three, walls, and may have a cell. Prokaryotics have a five large chromosome that is not surrounded by a six membrane. Prokaryotics that may have for motility, 8 for conjugation, and 9 for adhesion to surfaces. I'm no longer reading this because I sound so ridiculous when I say And the option there are A, which is the capsule, B, single, C, pili, D, nuclear, E, flagella, F, cell, G, ribosomes, H, fimbriae, or I, plasma. Anyone want to give it a try? It's more fun when you just say.
First one is plasma.
The first one is plasma membrane. Let's see if you're correct. Plasma membrane and have DNA cytoplasm to you are continuing, by the way.
The second one is ribosomes.
Let's see if you're correct. Read the whole entire thing. Continue.
Oh, I must finish the whole thing.
Yeah, if you can. We'll see if you're wrong.
Okay. They also have cell walls.
Let's see. You're correct.
And may also have cell capsules. Capsule.
So number 4 is capsules.
Yes.
Capsule. Let's see. Geez, you're correct.
Prokaryotes have a single large chromosome
Correct.
that is not surrounded by a nuclear membrane.
Correct.
Okay, this one is a bit tricky for me. Prokaryotes may have um, uh, flagella for motility.
Yes, you're correct.
um,
and obviously
and
the last one will
and
be.
and fimbriae for conjugation and pili for adhesion to surfaces.
Am I correct with my thing?
No, it can't be C again.
Yes, yeah, I remember this. I made a mistake on something. Yes. So which one is number 8 again? Number 8
Um,
is
Number 8, I'm choosing H, and for number 9, I'm choosing C. Oh, it means that I swapped them. Yeah, that's why I said I'm not sure about it. So yeah, I tried.
do any of you see the mistake that I made?
You mentioned C
You named
twice.
it X,
No, it was
which is
C.
exactly.
Mentioned single twice.
I mentioned single price. Yeah, it's supposed to be pili, right? La humula, but humula wachamba. It's supposed to be to be pili, right? The number 8.
Yes,
Yeah. Okay. All right. We still have time. Yes, I think we have time for two more questions. This is the diagram. Scientific method consists of a series of well-defined steps. If a hypothesis is not supported by an experiment, one can propose a new hypothesis, make an observation, ask a question, form a hypothesis that answers the question, and make a prediction based on the hypothesis, do an experiment to test the prediction, analyze the results. And when you analyze the results will either support the hypothesis or the hypothesis will not be supported, then you will report the results. If the results are not supported, you try again. That's simple as that. Then, this figure, what are they saying we should do on this figure? They're saying in the example below, a scientific method is used to solve an everyday problem, and match the scientific method steps numbered to the numbered items with the process of solving the everyday problem. That is the letters in the item based on the results of the experiment. Is the process of the hypothesis correct? If it is correct, propose the new alternative. Do you hear the question? What is asking? Before we go to the answer, is the question making sense? Do you get the question?
Not really. Can you try to elaborate it?
Anyone who understand it? So in the below, the scientific method is used to solve every problem. The first part of the question is that we're going to be matching. We're going to be matching the numbers to the letters. Match the scientific method steps. These are the scientific method steps with the process of solving everyday problem. These ones on your right hand side, and the base. But the second part of the question says, based on the results of the experiment, is the hypothesis correct? If it's incorrect, propose an alternative hypothesis. Let's go. So you're going to be matching. After you match, you're going to go to the answer of the hypothesis. When you're going to tell us if the hypothesis is correct. If that hypothesis is not correct, you're going to propose an alternative hypothesis. Is that clear now?
Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, let's go.
Okay, observation will be my toaster doesn't toast my bread, I think. I'm not sure.
This will be number what? That will be C,
Number
right?
observation, yes. And
Okay.
then a question will be okay, why doesn't my toaster work? I don't know if I'm right.
Okay, wait. I think you are correct on the observation because you said C. And then the question
And the
number
question,
2 is what? Is
it
what
will be
letter?
why doesn't my toaster work?
Which is F.
Which is F.
Look at that, you're correct. Then hypothesis.
Yeah. Okay. Hypothesis meaning it's something to be tested. Plug my coffee marker into the outlets. All right. It'll be A. It'll be
You can
okay.
help her, guys. You can help her, guys.
Okay, yes, it's gonna be A.
It's gonna be A, all right. Correct. Yes, you're
Yes.
correct. You're almost
Okay, I
there.
think it will be B. The prediction, I don't know. They can correct me.
Somehow they don't want to intervene, but you're correct. Yes, prediction. If something is wrong with the outlet, my coffee maker also won't work when I plug into it. Yes.
An
You're almost there.
experiment. Okay, then the experiment. Okay, it will be D. I don't know. Yeah.
And yes, yeah. And obviously the results will be E.
Yes.
All right. Does somebody want to assist here on the second part of the question? Because the hypothesis, it says there is something wrong with the electrical outlet.
Okay,
But
so the hypothesis is incorrect. So an alternative our hypothesis would be there is something wrong with the toaster
and why is that?
because in the experiment um the coffee maker was plugged into the outlet and the result was that the coffee maker worked. So this means that the hypothesis is incorrect and thus we have to come up with a new one, which might be that there's actually a problem with the toaster.
Yes, they must buy a new toaster. Because the electrician did a proper work because they wanted to call an electrician and yell at him and say, you said this will work even during load shedding. And yeah. So currently their toaster is the one that is not working. Yes, you're correct. Because this will be what we blacks will call a black. The black is working. The blacks are working, but the toaster is the one that is not working. Well done, guys. You guys are very good. I guess we can do one more. One more. Are you guys up for one more? One more question? Yes, no? Okay, you guys are tired. Okay, I see a thumb which said no. Let's go for it. This is the last one, yes. Which of the following is not an example of a phenomenon that can be tested using scientific inquiry? Number A, why do fingers prune when you are in the bathtub for too long? What causes grass to die after a dog urinates on it? How many ghosts are hunting on this museum? Why do plants grow towards sources of light? Which of these is not, it cannot be tested in scientific inquiry?
So the answer in the chat box is
Yeah.
C.
Thank you so much. Yes, and that is the answer. I think all of us can agree with that. We mentioned this, that this is a supernatural phenomena such as ghosts and spirits are not testable scientifically because these are supernatural claims that are not testable through variable observations. All right. I think that's about it for today.